Hey BrewTubers, happy Homebrew Wednesday. So this is an actual Homebrew Wednesday really, instead of my last Homebrew Wednesday, which was just me using my cell phone to record some updates. So I have some actual concrete footage, not brewing footage. I'll explain, I'm taking a little hiatus from brewing over the next, for March and April, for various reasons. But here it goes. So first I have my chai saison in my Duvel glass, which I don't really use often enough, and it's a really, really cool glass to drink a good amount of beer out of. So I didn't fill it up all the way, obviously, but I thought I'd give you a really quick review of it because I have a lot to talk about up beyond it. So just to review what I did with it in terms of the spicing, because that's really the only unique thing about this beer. Besides the fact that after I split the batch with the red IPA, I steeped a little bit of honey malt in there, and then towards the end of the boil with the spices, I added just under a tablespoon of the chai spice mix, and then when I tasted it after fermentation, after primary fermentation, I didn't feel it had enough spice character. I mean, it was nicely balanced, but when I say chai saison, I want people to really know that the spices are really there, especially when it's fresh. And then over time, I don't mind so much if if the spice character starts to fade off and the base beer kind of shines a little more, the base style. So, in terms of the aroma of the finished beer, with the extra, which I don't know if I just mentioned, I added another tablespoon to the keg by making a tea. And then straining and putting in the keg. As I said, my last Homebrew Wednesday, it has a really nice aroma of the spices. But to me, it's still not distinctly chai. I don't know if it's the specific blend of spices I use or just interacting with the beer, but it definitely has that, that spiced character. Not like a pumpkin ale, which has a lot of nutmeg. But almost like I'd make it akin to what the spice character is in, let's say, an Anchor Christmas ale, but in a saison, so that it's just a little bit brighter and less, rounded out by a malty backbone like it would be in a pumpkin ale or a winter ale. So, and then there's a little bit of yeast spiciness, a little bit of lemon from the saison, but really it's just a really nice, beautiful potpourri, for lack of a better word, of perfumey spices. So, cheers. So, I did bring this to a homebrew club meeting last week, my New Jersey homebrew club meeting, the Wells meeting, and everyone liked it. Even one guy who was there for the first time, was a new brewer, was there with his wife, and his wife said it was her favorite beer of the night. So, it's going over really well, and I really like it. In the taste, it's more of the spice, a little bit of gray maltiness in the backbone. Finishes a little just dry enough. I think the spices add the illusion of a little bit of sweetness, but it really did finish at 1.005, and it's about 6.7% ABV. So really nice drinking saison. I like my saisons usually between 6 and 7% usually, but of course it could be lower than that, but just for me, I think that with the yeast character that I want to coax out, I think that ABV is perfect. So, for me, it's a really nice drinking beer. So, let's move on to updates. The real updates I have are related to more equipment and technique than brewing itself. So, the first, and I filmed clips for each of these. So, I'll briefly review them now, go into those clips, and then come back for a wrap up with what my brewing schedule is going to look like over the next few months. So the first one is going to be my cleaning my line system. So so what I did was I bought, and I'll post a picture when I show the clip, a connector to connect two ball lock beer lines together from Brew Hardware, and then and some silicone hose tubing. And I use that to recirculate beer line cleaner, and you'll see that in the video. That's the first one. The second one something I did for the first time, as you could maybe see in the video, this keg here, which I still have to clean, is that as I mentioned in my last Homebrew Wednesday, I had to transfer my ready carbonated imperial stout from this Pepsi keg to a shorter Coke keg in order for it to fit on the hump in my keezer. So I filmed a good long clip about that process, just to make sure I explained it concisely, or it's not concise if it's long, but I explained it well, and then did a review just to make sure at the end of the clip, just to make sure you would understand. Then, lastly, something I did tonight, which I'm filming this on Tuesday night, hopefully I'll get it out the video out this week, is that I had a really hard time with my red IPA. I really clogged the keg. And then I did film a clip about the whole adventure of unclogging it, but I don't feel it's really necessary. In essence, I had to take apart the post, that putting the gas line on the beer outpost didn't work, and I had to take apart the beer outpost 3 times and remove beer each time to get the beer flowing nicely. And yes, maybe I could have done it one time, but I was too nervous to remove too much beer from the keg before enjoying it on tap. So what I did tonight was I bought online from Amazon, and I got 1-day shipping through Prime, a keg dry hopping stainless steel cylinder, which some of you may have seen already, and I put in 1.5 ounces of Centennial, because I didn't have any more Citra, and 3/4 ounce, maybe a little over 3/4 ounce of Chinook. Now in the clip you'll see it's going to have a lot of jumps because I kept re-sanitizing everything because I was really nervous. And even after when I poured the hops into the stainless steel cylinder, I thought that I may have lost a few hops to the bottom of the keezer, so I ran back to the kitchen and added a few more pellets of each. So I'll try to edit that together to be nice, but in essence, I wanted to re-dry hop the beer because when I had to unclog it, I had to, pull off the head pressure so many times that I lost a lot of hop character. So I wanted to re-dry hop it to add back at least some new hop character, fresh hop character to the beer that's supposed to be a red IPA. Alright guys, so as I said, I would show you cleaning my beer lines. I'm doing it while I have everything hooked up. So before I shut off the pump, I thought I'd show you the whole process that I went through as inspired by Tony Yates' system when he uses a pump. I'm using a different pump, but same philosophy or same setup basically. So in here, in the bucket, you can't see it now because it has all the bubbles and having been recirculating for almost 15 minutes. But there's a pump in there, and then it runs, the longer line runs up to this tap, which obviously is open, and then comes out this tap. And how are they connected? Well, I have, just like Tony got from brewhardware.com, I don't know how it's going to focus, but this connects both beer lines because it has ball lock beer line connectors on both ends, and then the two dots. I'll have to post a picture here in the video. The camera's not really focusing right now, but it has a way to have the 2 holes in each end, which have let the liquid pass through between the both lines. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the beer line cleaner off the top of the keezer and open it up so that you guys can see what it looks like on the inside. So on the inside, as you see, both beer lines are connected together via that connector. So it just runs through the lines and then cleans them out to go. So that's the process. If you have any questions, I guess you can comment on the video and I'll try to help out as much as I can. Cheers. Hey BrewTubers, Barry here. So I just completed the next task of new processes that I'm implementing or that I'm trying with my adventure in kegging. I've been kegging for a couple of years. I'm still learning a lot of really new things. So what I did this time, which I believe I mentioned in my last Homebrew Wednesday, was to transfer my imperial stout from this Pepsi keg that you see on the floor to a Coke keg, which if you guys have used Coke kegs, you know that they're wider and shorter. And as you see here, I have a beer outline, quick disconnect hooked up to that, and then on the other end of it I have another one. So it's basically what people call a jumper cable. So this line that I'm using is actually one of the lines that my oldest or more original beer lines from the Keyser, which I've been wanting to change out anyway, and I have replacements that I got from Brew Hardware already. So after I took it off, I took a extra quick disconnect that I had lying around, and I put it on the other end that you saw, and then I put it on the beer outline of the receiving keg, which is this shorter, stubbier, and wider Coke keg. And then I have this blue gas line here. As you see, it's attached to the receiving keg now, but originally I had it hooked up there to the delivering keg, the source keg. And what I did was, in order to transfer the beer, is first I purged the oxygen from this keg before hooking everything up. Then I set this keg to about 7 or 8 psi. Actually, first I set it to about 4 or 5, and it was flowing too slow, so I upped it to about 8. And then, as you would to fill a growler or a bottle with counter pressure, I kept burping the pressure release valve on this keg to get it to fill, and I was nervous that it wasn't really flowing, but I periodically kept feeling like shaking this keg around, and I felt that it was getting emptier, so I knew it was working. And then in the end, I'm like, it's getting really light, but it could still have about half a gallon. So I shook it, and eventually it went like this, where there's only a little bit of beer in the line, or there's a void in the line to show me that there's really only that last little tiny bit at the bottom of the keg. So it worked. And then what I did at the end was I unhooked everything from the receiving keg, took out the head pressure, which wasn't much because I kept burping it, and then I put it at serving pressure, where I'm going to leave it at my usual 14 psi, which is my usual serving pressure, until I put the PC fans in there to equal out the temperature for the beer lines and the kegs, and leave it there for a few days just to reacclimate itself to its new environment, and it should be good to go. So that's what I did. I'm really glad it worked. And one last tip that I can give you guys before I close up my Keyser is that you should. What I did was I prepped the receiving keg last night. I had previously took out the rest of my Doppelbock, soaked it, cleaned it as usual, and I sanitized it last night, closed it up, put it in my Keyser overnight, or really for 24 hours because I didn't have time to do it the next morning. This morning, filming this on a Sunday night, and to get it cold so that it wouldn't foam. So this keg was in my fermentation fridge down here for over a week, almost 2 weeks, waiting for me to do this whole process, and then this was in the Keyser for almost 24 hours, getting cool. So over time, so there wasn't really any foaming because of the fact that both kegs were around the same temperature. So that's how I did it. I hope if you guys haven't done this process before and ever come to the time where you actually need to, this is the way that worked for me. guys, so I hope you enjoyed those clips. So what happens is that, as some of you guys know, my real only day of the week to brew is on Sundays, and this month in March, a lot of my Sundays have been taken up by family stuff, so I really wasn't able to really brew this month. I kegged the 2 new beers and tapped the 2 new beers, but I didn't really have time to brew this month. And now we're going into April, and as some of you know, most of you know, I'm Jewish, and Passover starts on April 10th. So from April 10th to the 18th, I can't, because of the laws of the way Passover works, I can't drink beer for those 8 days. Luckily I have wine, which I love, and my family is very into wine, so I'll be trying some new wines, but I can't brew those days and I can't drink beer those days, so that like takes over the first 18 days of the month, because I'm not going to get a beer going and then, and not be able to deal with it over Passover. And then after Passover, on the Sunday after Passover, I'm going to be celebrating my daughter's birthday. So on the 23rd, her birthday's on the 16th, but the Sunday the 23rd is when we're celebrating it. And then the following Sunday is my mom's birthday party, April 30th. So we don't have any Sundays to brew in April. So we'll have to wait till the beginning of May, hopefully the beginning of May, so I can brew. And I have a lot of beers that I want to brew. More IPAs, obviously, because I love brewing IPAs, and I still have a lot of hops to use up. So I might just brew like a huge double IPA at some point. But in terms of beers that I specifically want to brew for the spring and summer, I want to brew my first ever wit beer, straightforward, to style, like I like doing to style when I brew my first beer from a style that I really love. So I'm going to do black pepper, coriander, and freshly zested citrus fruits. I don't know which one, or maybe I'll do a blend just to put my own twist on it. And maybe, I just do classic Saaz or Styrian Golding hops. And, very straightforward. I like a little spicier of a wit beer than some other people. I think Flying Dog has one. I forgot the name right now, but that was really spicy to me. That's the beer that got me really into spicier wit beers. And then I want to brew my Pilsner again. It's going to be a little tougher with the harder New Jersey water, but I'll have to figure it out. But I brewed my Pilsner at least a couple times, and I love it, and I want it a bit on tap again, and I really miss that flavor profile of those beer hops. And then I'll probably brew a few more saisons. I want to brew my triple again. I haven't brewed it in a couple of years, and I really want to, now that I've really fine-tuned my brewing of big Belgian beers, I want to brew that again. So again, the wit beer, the Pilsner, the triple, and IPAs, and anything else that comes to mind. But that's what just, have my flow of consciousness right now. That's what I think I want to brew over the spring and summer. So really looking forward to seeing what you guys are brewing, and of course I'm looking forward to the 2017 SJ Pork competition, which I hope to be able to participate in and have the time to brew. And yeah, so congrats to all the winners for 2016 homebrew SJ Pork competition, and I look forward to sharing more adventures with you in the future. Cheers.